What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros. We have an amazing show lined up for you today because even though yesterday we started to dip in prices and we talked about the charts doing that, right as we are speaking, the markets are pumping. It is looking really good. How much higher can we go? We'll be talking about Bitcoin. We'll be talking about some other altcoins as well. But as the title suggests, one of our favorite new topics here at the Investing Bro channel, we're going to be discussing XRP. Should you hold it long term? Should you not? To talk more about that, we do have a special guest joining the show today. It is none other than Mim. That'd be Magic Internet Money. He is joining the show. Going to break down those XRP charts, look at some others as well. Make sure on this great Friday, you guys are preparing your questions for Magic Internet Money. We always love having him on here. But with that said, those of you who already subscribed to the channel, smash the like button. You guys know what is coming. The rest of you, thank you for joining Investing Bros today. We are about to hit 10,000 subscribers, literally just hitting 9,000 within this last week, and we're already within 400 of that 10,000. If you enjoy the show, make sure you smash that subscribe button. But before we get into crypto, I got to introduce my co-host and my guest for the day, Mr. T-Shroom from down there in Gainesville, Florida, and also Magic Internet Money joining us from the great old state of Kansas, where they got the Jayhawks and extremely cold winters this year. How are you boys doing?
I'm better than I deserve. How are you doing, Mem?
Always fantastic. That's what I tell people.
There we go.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
We've got a quote of the day here, and we very seldom ever quote movies, but we've got one here. When you look at the dark side, careful you must be, for the dark side looks back. Anybody know who that is?
Well, there's a picture of him right next to the quote.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, but that could be Baby Yoda.
Does Baby Yoda even talk? I don't think Baby Yoda talks, so he wouldn't have many quotes.
You have a very limited understanding of talking, Tim. When Yoda talks, it's not always verbal.
Okay. Thank you for that, T-Shroom. Now, Mim, you're looking blue today. It looks like you still haven't thawed out from the great winter just yet. Is it heating up there in Kansas, or are you guys still frozen?
Nice. No, it's like 68 here. It's actually really nice.
That is nice.
I'm living in the dark right now because, as you guys know, behind stage, I actually thought it was an hour later. The show was because I messed up my timing, so I haven't showered after my workout or anything. So I'm gonna live in the dark a little bit. Nobody needs to see that greasy face.
I love it.
There we go. Listen, if you guys didn't think this was a special enough episode because we got Magic Internet Money, also take a look. Tim's wearing a T-shirt. My coworkers today were laughing at me, claiming they've never seen me in one, which is very false. But I just woke up this morning and said, let's make the people happy. Let's not wear a hoodie. Let's wear a T-shirt. It's probably like 70 degrees down here in Atlanta, Georgia, so not too bad. But I thought I'd throw you guys a little specialness and not wear the hoodie today. Don't worry. Tomorrow, Saturday show, the hoodie will be back. But that's for you, Eric Wallen, especially. I know you would love that. Before we jump in here, Magic Internet Money, got a lot of questions for you. Let's take a look at what the market is doing and see what's going on. Even though we are pumping. It just updated for me. Now we are very much in the green. A second ago, this was in the red still. We're up barely here with Bitcoin since the opening of the day, up 0.32. Tether, good to see. Tether's still at 99 cents. So let's get back to $1 there, Tether. BNB continues just to go up and up and up. And also Solana. Guys, Solana has been pumping here. Solana missed the memo that there was supposed to be some form of a dip. Almost everything else is down closer to 10%, but Solana just continues to tear up to the upside, outdoing the expectations we have addressed here on the show. So, Solana, if you've been continuing to hold, you are being heavily rewarded. XRP, one of the few tokens right now in the top 10, joined with Doge that is in the red over the last 24 hours. We will be addressing that. Shiba Inu right outside number 11, also down almost 5%. Let's see what our big gainers, big losers of the day are. Jupiter up almost 30%, continuing its tear. I think it had a good day yesterday as well. So Jupiter holders feeling good. Conflux up 21. Solana coming in number 3. Saycoin is coming in at 11% up. AVAX as well up 10%. We made a video about the other day, hitting some of the targets that we talked about. Let's see some of our biggest losers, though, because there are some of those losers. Bitcoin SV is down. Sats, who cares about those? Injective, though, do care about that. down six. You care a lot about Sats and Bitcoin SV, T-Shroom?
I think don't sleep on the BRC20 narrative. That's what I'll say about Sats.
Well, all right. Well, good for you. That's good. I'm not liking what I'm seeing over here when I'm stretching across the plane. Yes, up 20% last 30 days, but still down 26 the last 90. So it's not picked up the steam that it should if it's going to be a top mover here.
It is volatile.
Near Protocol been having a great week, yet it is down 5% today. That's our market open as a whole. Biggest gainers, biggest losers. Mim, we are so glad to have you on here. Let's just start off. How have you been viewing the market since we last had you on the show, probably about a month ago or so? Are you surprised by recent moves? Of course, last time we had you on here, we had not hit new all-time high for Bitcoin. Are you surprised Bitcoin set a new all-time high before the halving? Is this exactly what you expected? What are you viewing right now in the markets?
It didn't really surprise me too much. It was one of those things where I kept saying, well, when we get this time is different, we'll address that. And anything above about $53,000 for me was kind of like, why wouldn't you just make an all-time high? There's nothing between you and, $69,000 at that point. So,
good point.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things where I took the short at 49K. It dipped like 20%. I did take another short at 53, which was working off of like a new deviations model that I've been tinkering with, which worked out. But since then, there's really been no reason to short. Outside of 73K, I did short 73K, but I've had that level on my chart since like 2021. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of surprising how it's ripping this quickly, because it does make me worry that potentially you're running into like a Bob Lucas, left translated cycle thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm just enjoying it. I'm really not trading as much. The easy part is now, where you just kind of let the gains happen. Over trading a bull market can really do damage. So you just let your winners go. That's how I'm doing it right now. And I am playing a little. I've finally, you guys know me. I'm kind of a curmudgeon when it comes to altcoins. I finally dedicated some money for like meme coins and stuff. Traded some Pepe, things like that. Things I would normally never touch. But even a little bit of Doge. Yeah.
You are braver than me shorting during the bull market. I might look for a small scalp short, but nothing long term. Now, as we get into the charts here, I have a question for you. One thing you brought up, that's a sentence we've been using a lot here. This time is different. Well, this time is different for a plethora of reasons. But I'm interested in your take. As we are still pulled back, even though we're back up to 70,400 at this time, there still are potentials that we could see a more significant downside at some point. We looked at this the other day. There has been since the bottom of the bear market, when we hit 15.5, we've had 4 pullbacks of around 20%. What are your thoughts about the future of pullbacks in Bitcoin? Is that the new normal? Is 20% the new healthy correction? Or are we going to see a continuation of history where traditionally we do get a good 30 to 40% pullback during the bull market? What are your thoughts about this time is different correlating to pullbacks throughout the rest of this bullish trend?
I think it's kind of all situational. For me, I've got some timing that comes in towards the beginning of April, and then another one at the beginning of May. So the sell in May, walk away kind of starts to creep in there. And depending on where we're at in price, if we're up near like, I don't know, say $80,000 to $81,000 at that time, I would be very interested in seeing a potential pullback of size. But if it goes through that level, I think that you're really just looking to $100,000, and maybe those pullbacks don't come. So for me, I don't know what's going to realistically happen. I'm only kind of just making my trading plans in advance, and maybe I'll get to trade some of those plans, and maybe I just get to sit there and watch Bitcoin continue to melt faces. It's one of the two, right?
True. Well, why don't we get your chart pulled up if you can share your screen, and then let's see what you're looking at on your chart.
I've got like the low time frames for Bitcoin right now.
Let's do it.
Yeah, really basic stuff here. So for me, you were looking for the technically this is also the previous week point of control in this region, but you had your monthly point of control coming in here, backed up by a value area low, which was also going to be the monthly val, your gold pocket. I believe your February high was there. The previous week EQ comes in here as well. So a lot of support between about $67,000 all the way down to like 64 and some change. And that's a big zone. So realistically was looking for longs in this box. That's what we went over last night, that we were looking for lower still. and now you're getting that. So I ended up getting long in this region on a swing failure pattern here on like the hourly time frame. You can see you've come down, taken the low, and made your move up. Now there was an indication you were going to make this move in terms of like statistics. So you guys know I track dang near everything anymore, it feels like. But the weekly pivots come in there, and that was your weekly pivot. Those do hit at an 81% hit rate. I went ahead and just tracked the last 200 pivots for everybody. So I've got about the last 4 years of data for this particular setup. 81% of the time you will hit this within the session. So pretty good hit rate. Combine that with some deviations closures that I have for the weekly time frame as well. Our zero line right here, also like a 77% hit rate. So, for me, it was like, all right, statistically speaking, we should come down and actually formally tap these if we're here. And if I get that swing failure pattern, I should be willing to long. And this was the area I was looking to get out, take profit one. Main reason being is this is your current week right here in terms of range developing, right? So it's Friday, so it's pretty well developed, but you're back inside of it. One would expect to probably rotate to, about $72,000, retest the value high of March, but also the point of control for this current session. And that also puts you right in line with some of your future pivots that should be coming in here at the end of the week, right? So we should be expecting to see the average of price for the new week coming in somewhere right around here. So it was more of a mean reversion trade for me. Now it's a free trade, meaning that now that take profit one is hit, I'm going to leave, I think there's like 0.44 Bitcoin is what I got left in that trade. And I'm just going to let it run. And if it comes up to this area here at 73,244, which was like my macro resistance, and gets above it, I'm realistically looking for higher prices overall in terms of the trend. And the trend does continue at that point. Let me see here, get off of these, and I'll show you this level on the high time frames and kind of like break down how I'm viewing the market long term. Time frames is very easy.
Before we move on to longer time frames, I can't remember because you have one of the most unique ways of trading. You're deadly accurate. So anytime you say you do something, I'm like, all right, that's something we got to do. And anytime you're like, I don't really pay attention to it, it's something that goes in the back of my mind. I'm like, oh, maybe that's not as important. Do you use a lot of oscillators when trading as well? Are you aware of anything?
Almost none.
Okay, because on the hourly chart, if you share my screen for just a second, I don't know if you have any thought about this whatsoever, but we do need to wait for a bearish candle to close on the hourly, but you're going to see oscillators. We're setting higher highs right now on the hourly chart. MACD's still working on it, but RSI has done it. The Lux Algo oscillator's done it. MACD's working on it. That would be bearish divergence, a hidden bearish divergence. That would be a continuation pattern. I just wanted people to be aware of that, but does that flow with you? Does that kind of compute to you as well? It looks like even though we're pumping here over the last hour and a half, that pump could be coming to a close here soon.
Yeah, I mean, so realistically, everybody uses the term price action kind of loosely because a lot of people do that. Yeah. But for me, I really kind of put a ton of influence on market structure. So like the hourly time frame, for instance, like we were just talking about, like this for me is confluence for like invalidation and a move up, right? So nothing really changes in terms of this as a downtrend unless you get back above this high here, obviously, and live there. So realistically, I'm still looking at this level as until we're above it. You could definitely put in a lower high here and come down lower and hit, even lower targets. But the better trade at the time was the long. Now, if we get a similar setup up here, like let's say we spend some time up here like we did here, and actually put in a little bit of a top and I can get a swing fail or something of like a previous day high or whatever it may be, I'll probably take that trade in opposition of what I've got open. And I probably won't close this trade. I'll just take a separate one and let the two trades kind of do their thing. When you look at this on the daily, it's tough to kind of like determine where do I get bullish gain? Is it all the way up here at the high? Well, I mean, in this case, probably yes. The previous day high would be an early indicator, which is about to be this high right here. So the current day high at 72.5. If you were to clear this level, I would probably start to look at things and say, things look good. And you can see why right here. You'd basically be finding acceptance above this range, above this last local high, and then you just have to kind of deal with this price action. But more than likely at that point, you're living above all the major points of control in terms of like relative price action, like on the weekly time frame, monthly time frame, and the weakness just isn't there. So for me, I don't really trade oscillators because I don't want to use the term misleading, but they are lagging, and
Mm-hmm.
they can be used, and you can use them to front run things like, hey, divergence is building, things like that. But oftentimes you need market structure to confirm those divergences before they can play out, like on a daily time frame. So I just rely solely on that than market structure. I kind of cut the gravy out, and then I just go straight to range trading, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't need the divergence necessarily to determine where my target's going to be, because I already know where it is. I've got statistical, models here that are built that say, okay, I know that if that divergence is going to play out, I'm still targeting that pivot, and I'm still targeting that deviations closure and things like that. So it doesn't affect my trading too much. You can certainly do it. There's a lot of good momentum traders, and that's one of the, I wouldn't say weaker areas for me, because I don't use, I used to use the RSI pretty frequently. I still do use it for like altcoins and stuff every now and then when I'm just taking glances, but I don't use a lot of oscillators. I think less is more. The only thing I really do watch, like you can see, I've got RSI here. I watch the 46 level on the 5-minute pretty intensively in terms of Bitcoin, and then I watch open interest. Open interest is a big one. So yeah, this is by Leviathan. It's an aggregate OI indicator. And then any other time I'm doing something with like a day trade entry, I will pull up exo charts and watch the footprint chart, things like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't do a ton of oscillators, I guess.
I love it. I'm going to chime in here because it's funny. We're doing so much TA. We're getting a TA overload, and I'm loving it. There's actually some fundamentals just breaking through the ether, just needing to be said here. I love it. New World Disorder, what a name, said BlackRock needs to reflect stability in this asset for new customers of the ETF. They never deal with wild assets, kind of implying volatile assets. That's why they bought enough to control it. An interesting take there from New World Disorder. Great. Great. Thank you so much for tuning in, and consider subscribing and smashing the like.
It's very true that they do need to do it, but that doesn't mean healthy pullbacks don't happen. Which, I said someone else in chat, why is Tim so bearish? I'm not bearish. I will say I do want price to go down so that we can get a healthy bull run and buy more. But I'm not bearish in the sense of lower lows on macro timelines. But when you watch markets historically, good bull runs, and tell me what your thoughts are about this, Mim. Good bull runs have their healthy pullbacks. And it's the ones that don't get the pullbacks that start to get scary, and a bubble starts to build where it doesn't take a healthy pullback of 10, 20, 30%. Those are the ones that pop and you see 50, 60, 70% pullbacks. And that's what we really want to avoid. You
are correct. These like 30% pullbacks, the idea that we have to have a 30 or 40 to me is I'm not going to use the term nonsense, but it's one of those things where if you look at like things like when the gold ETF came out, it kind of reminds me of that, where it did have some pullbacks, but it's shallow and it just kept going. And that really is an orderly fashion if you just kind of have, 15, 20% pullbacks at a time and keep going. But Bitcoin is putting in flash crashes when it does it, which is not the pullbacks you really want to see in terms of what we'd classify as healthy, I guess. Because it's not really putting any market structure when it does that. It's just a very quick move. It's just liquidity grabs, and then up it goes, right? So Bitcoin is it's at a weird inflection point for me. This is I'd been looking at this level for a long, long time, and this is kind of just one of those things where got to see what happens from here. So this is actually derived from a different chart, and I'll show you on Bitstamp. That level comes from over here. And this comes from the prior bull market. I used this box to actually determine where I was going to be looking to get out of the market in the last cycle. This is it's essentially a trend-based Fibonacci level from the prior cycle low right here to the 20K high. Project that, projection off of the new 3K low. So you're just taking this and you're projecting it from your new higher low. And this is your golden ratio right there. And what made it really special for me was the golden ratio in terms of the 1618, which a lot of people fail to realize that is a very important number. I know everybody talks about gold pocket, but the 1618, if you just Google what the golden ratio is, that's actually the first one that'll show up. So your 1618 is here. So you've got a really nice confluence. And then you had negative Fibonacci as well. So the negative 236 was coming in here, which made this really, really I wouldn't say an easy spot, but an area on the chart that should have definitely garnered your interest at 69K. And knowing that we didn't fulfill all of this and that this was such a massive fib zone for me that when we came back up, I just thought, this would be pretty good resistance. So maybe we'll get a decent pullback, but it's a tradable level for me. And when I worked it out several different ways, 73,244 was the level I'd landed on, which honestly panned out really, really well in terms of like a daily closure. You can see we closed right underneath it. We got a nice sweep of the highs here, and then down you go into statistical targets that are just mean reversion. But if you get above this, you're not targeting 400,000. That's not a good idea. But the one thing that made that target right here at this second high so easy in terms of like looking at it as a market top was if you then took the time it took, not just the Fibonacci projection in terms of fibs, you could take the time and you can see that it's an identical market. It's a 1-to-1, right? You're 100% time, 61.8% projection of price, meaning that we have a diminishing return cycle, but it's right into a gold pocket. You've got a golden ratio fib extension. You've got negative fibs there. I mean, it's what more did you want in terms of technicals to look at that and say that this is probably going to be a pretty decent pullback. And it ended up being the top. So now we're back in that zone, and Bitcoin traditionally does pull back at least a little bit off of the all-time high once it hits it the first time. Not a lot, though. We're on the weekly time frame. So you got to keep that in mind that these candles, you've only got about 4 weeks here underneath this that it consolidated here. And I don't even know how many weeks over here. So it's not like we're looking for this thing to change a whole lot. Like right here, even if you counted this as 1, 2, 3, 4, actually this is quite a bit. It's a couple of months. And going into the halving, and traditionally we do pull back there. It's like maybe this does put in a little bit of a local top and put in a range, which to me would be ideal as a trader myself, because then I could trade new positions. But you don't always get what you want there. So in terms of how you'd be looking at the market now, is you just be doing something very similar. I like to use Bybit because I have got data on Bybit finally, since that's Bitstamp. This is just a fib channel from the current low, Corona low, 69K high. The true all-time high is what I tell people. I don't buy into that whole this was the all-time high stuff. There's a lot of people that argue with me about that, but I'm like, time says time fits, and everything else says otherwise. Price says
I've never
otherwise.
Understood the argument that the people make.
They're using an oscillator, Tim. They're using an oscillator. They really are. They're saying the oscillator called it here, and I'm like, maybe. But Price called it here. So if you did the same thing, this would be your 73K resistance, but then you're looking at this from the all-time high to the low here. Your 1618 is at the 1.5 at that 100K mark, and 73K kind of stands in between you, and that's also your channel here. So there is some resistance there, and the only thing you really have to be aware of is then we do the same thing that we did in the last cycle, where we project off of the current low. We just need to know, where's my low, 3114, and I'm just going to take it to the high, and then I project it off my new higher low, which it's probably fair to say that's a confirmed higher low. And you can see that your 1-to-1's about 81,500. And that to me would be an area to be aware of. I'd want that on my chart. And I think the other one I had was 80,889. There were two of them that I was really pulling, one off of this low and then one off of the 31K low here, or 3.1K low. So like they differ by just a few dollars, but it gives you more of a zone, like a $600 zone, which at that price isn't even 1%. So take it for whatever you want there. But that channel I just had up, you're really just looking at it in terms of like projecting price again. So you've got your channel, 100% of channels here, 50% here, 150% projection is here at the 1618. If you look at time, that's the only concerning thing, is the time that's taking place here, like how fast this is. You've got a very similar situation where you go, okay, traditionally a bull market is going to last until the second quarter or third quarter of 2025 if it follows the last two cycles, which the 4-year cycle has been very accurate up until this point, but there's only been a handful of them. So you've now got, things are different. We're above the all-time high before the halving. You were running the risk of this market doing what's called a left translated cycle, meaning that it runs the same amount, like distance. It may run to 80K, could run to 100K in that instance, but it puts in a top sooner. And you've got time for May, and then you've got other timing out in, like, I think it's like August. If I'm being honest, I usually put on the 618, and the .75 is usually a good one to have up, just because it's a nice median between the 50% and the 100%. So you'd start looking at like, oh, what's going on in like the fall, September. or maybe even January of next year if this thing's getting really out of hand. But I think that if we don't get like a true top in the summer, that you do run the idea of maybe the timing stays the same. Maybe we do run the 4-year cycle like we normally have been. Nothing's changed there, but the price valuations change, and there's no longer like diminishing returns from the last cycle, and we actually maybe achieve a higher price target, which would be pretty wild. If I say so myself, you could see some pretty wild things up to like $130,000, $150,000.
Is that your kind of top though for Bitcoin? 130, 150 is the highest you see it getting?
Yeah, I'm a level to level guy. I think I had one for like closer to like 165 or 70, but those are things there that I don't like to throw out there, because then people are like, oh, you said 160 or 170, but it only hit 81,000. But in reality, 81K is my next target, and then if that breaks, I think there's some resistance at like 93 I'd want to be aware of, but 100K is kind of the magical number at that point. 100K is very realistic. So I think that'll be a really interesting trade, especially if it comes up here in May. Like if this broke out from here, which my ideal trade would be getting stopped out of that short that I took here, and letting this run all the way to 100K by the end of, or the beginning or end of May at this time pivot, and then not actually hitting 100K, doing something like this, coming up short, putting in a range and getting people bearish before coming back up and taking the high and then down. And like, that would be an ideal market cycle top for me. But
wow, okay. You're disappointing a lot of people here, Mim. 100 that people want a lot higher.
But I think that they might get it. I'm just kind of scheming in the back of my mind going, how can I trade this? Because I like to trade these things and I like to hedge. So it's one of those things where I try to have as detailed plans as I can, but at the same time, you can't really marry any of these ideas because I don't know. I'm just looking at how can I be prepared to take something and not be overly exposed risk wise, I guess. So that's about it.
Chat, go ahead. I want chat to go. I see Matt C just put his. Put in your perceived prediction. What's your estimate for the top of Bitcoin? I'm interested to hear that. But as on topic with disappointing people, it's time to move to another subject that has disappointed many of people, and that would be the good old chart of XRP. Now, there's moments, again, we've talked about this before with Mim. Mim is a very unemotional trader, meaning he's not gonna hate one thing forever or love one thing forever. He's gonna look at charts and tell you his honest opinion. Like his opinion, hate his opinion. It is his honest opinion, and it's one of those that you have to take into consideration because, again, when it comes from a place of numbers and details and not emotions, sometimes those are the more trustworthy predictions. XRP, though, we put it on the title, we put it in the thumbnail. Should people be holding XRP long term? Yes or no? And what are the levels? Let's talk about that. What are the levels you see it getting to? Here more recently, XRP, some people are still happy with it. Others, like myself, feel a little disappointed that it's not been acting as maybe as bullishly as it should have. After a bullish breakout here, this is the weekly chart, but after breaking above this yellow trend line, we once again have come back down below this trend that's been very bearish. What do you see the top for XRP in this bull market? Do you think people are wise, continue to hold on, or should they start to potentially consider a lower bag or eliminate it altogether to find a better project?
I'm long XRP, so
okay, there we go.
Yeah. I actually, what got me long on XRP was the last time I was on your guys' show, because T-Shroom asked me to look at XRP, and I hadn't looked at it in a while. And so I knew I had a really high time frame setup I shared with you guys, I want to say over a year ago, when it bottomed out at 29 cents. We had a target of about between 80 cents and $1, and it hit 95. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh yeah, let me take a look. I just pulled up the quarterly chart and I was like, you know what? This is really interesting, because at the time we were trading down here, and I was like, you have done something though. This quarter one low, which is important on very many of the altcoin and Bitcoin charts, you've been closing beneath it on this nice 90-day candle chart for some time now. Over, what is that? We closed below it in the second quarter of 2022, and you just broke above it in quarter 3 of 2023. So, 5 quarters. That's a healthy amount of time to be consolidating down here. And, I've got this here for you, and it's time point of control. The TPO POC of this entire asset for all price action is at 47 cents. And that is our most local low here. So as long as you're above 47 cents, you've put in a lot of time here. As you can see, these are 3-month candles. You see how much settle up there is chopping around. So once that was, the swept the last quarter's low, barely held that as support, regained quarter one. I literally went and bought XRP almost as soon as I left the show with T Shroom last time. And now I've added a little bit of leverage from some other positions on that just because they were good setups. But realistically, if you're trading this, for me, it's just a trade as of right now, but there is potential to go higher, of course. And I'm not as bearish on this chart as some of my followers might think. I like to rile up communities because it's just one of the things in crypto that never gets old.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So XRP is one of the more sensitive ones, not to be, poke, but it's true. And so it makes for easy fodder and easy engagement. And I rarely engagement farm, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it with memes and jokes. And then I'll throw in some charts as well. But, by and large, I don't hate XRP. I don't really care about like the centralization, decentralization debate between it and like it's a banker's coin, all that stuff. As you guys know, I'm just trading this to make money. Ultimately, I'm trading it to make more Bitcoin. So I don't, that's my take on it. Like, I hope XRP does well. I've always said that because XRP got me into the space. It was my very first crypto purchase back in 2017 at 3 cents. Got me in. That was the craziest bull run. XRP ran up over $3. I did not sell $3, just so everybody knows. I sold it like $1 on the way down. So I did hold it all the way to the top and then almost to the bottom. So really, really did well there. But I got in low enough where it still panned out. But there's a lot of people in the space, and XRP has brought a lot of attention to the space in terms of, new people and liveliness, I guess you could say, because they do have kind of a cult-like following, kind of like Ada Cardano does as well. And so, when I see that, I don't want to see an entire community get hurt in terms of like long-term. So I hope it does well, for that reason, because there are a lot of average people, that are in there that have invested based on what they think has potential. So I don't know about the potential in terms of the technology. I can just tell you about the chart. And for me, I was targeting 75 cents and it kind of front ran me a little bit. So a little disappointed there.
That's mainly that sucks when it does that.
I know, the prior quarter high, so I was like, it'll probably take the prior quarter high, but this is also, a precursor to the 2023 high, so, to me, I was looking at it as, this is all right. And you're getting this closure here. And so XRP does tend to root around and be a little bit, I wouldn't say annoying, but it's a slow moving coin until it's not. It's very, very pump and dumpy, as some people would say. Where did that? There goes Bitstamp. So what I would advise people to do with this one specifically is really zoom out. And if you do that, things get a little bit more clear for you. And I believe I was looking at this in log. This reminds me a lot of Bitcoin. And I know people don't want to hear that, but it reminded me a lot of Bitcoin. And I've said this back in 2021 when I started making videos about this, that you had a larger range potentially forming here. And that I was just using 2 yearly levels. You had your yearly level here, which was an easy area to call the top on this pump, actually. Probably my most hated video was that I put out a video when that top came in. I said that I was targeting somewhere around 29 cents on XRP after that. And that they had already, that was the exit pump if they were going to win the lawsuit, was the $2. And people, I mean, I think I had like 1,000 followers on TikTok when I put that out, and that video got over 10,000 views and like a couple hundred comments. None of them were polite. So, but it was one of those things where, whatever. But when you look at this, it's not that bad. When you look at the chart this way, you kind of take all this out, you've got higher lows still. And so a lot of people are going to call this a symmetrical or a descending triangle, like on the weekly time frame. But I would actually argue with the higher lows in place and a flat resistance up here around $1.97, you're really looking more almost like either a double bottom or B, like an ascending triangle. And it's very reminiscent of what Bitcoin was doing over here in 2018 on this chart. So very, very similar charts, as you can see. Came back down to the low a little bit more here on Bitcoin, whereas XRP did put in a little bit more of a higher low at that 29 cent mark. But that's how I'm viewing it. 2 high time frame levels on Bitcoin were the same. The yearly levels I was looking for, that's how I got that range. And that's how I'm getting the range here for this one. And this 54.6 cent level is pretty important. But I would put much more emphasis on like that 47 area. You can see this is your last monthly settle up. It was your time point of control. If you go to the quarterly charts, even more evident on why it's important. So if you lose 47 cents, probably bad news, probably 33 cents pretty quickly, but I would actually start looking for like 19 personally. That's just me. I'd probably just box off this whole area, and I wouldn't even consider touching it unless I saw some strength in the chart until, down here. If 47 cents gives, you could probably trade 33 cents and maybe it puts in a decent bounce even, but realistically, I would start looking at this as kind of a deviation and a little bit more of a sign of weakness, another lower high and a series of lower highs. And it does come back down to here. And then it's got a very McDonald's pattern and it's not good looking, but I'm not looking for that right now because there's just no reason to. You're in a bull market. Bitcoin's doing well. One thing that kind of aided me as well in looking at the XRP chart is the Link XRP chart. As you guys know, I'm a big Link guy. You guys are probably gonna want to talk about Link. This is now hitting some major targets for me as well. You can see I've got a box there, but I've got one line there I was looking for, and that was the 2022 high here. And I was live the day that this hit that. I was talking on a different show about it. I think it might have been Sin City even. Is that Valentine's Day? It was Valentine's Day when that happened. All right. Yeah, so you've
Love
taken
is in the air.
Yeah, it really was for XRP especially. Link had kind of blasted off early, and we were talking about how Link was like the early mover for this like bull market, when it kicked back off again. And they were like, why are you watching the Link XRP chart? I was like, well, we know who moves last. It's XRP. XRP moves last historically. So if I've got Chainlink, which traditionally moves first, I should be looking for when is Chainlink going to reverse versus XRP, and then I can rotate into XRP. And so now you're seeing that. Whereas Link is kind of, I wouldn't say lagging. It's kind of just consolidating around $20. It's really not doing much. Whereas XRP has gone from 47 cents all the way as high as 74. And in that time period, you've seen the valuation do this for Link and XRP. So that's kind of the value, thing there. Now, I ultimately think that Link will eventually come up to this box against XRP, meaning that it's going to take 61 in 64 to 64 XRP to make one Link. What price that is at on the chart, I'm not really sure, but that's the ratio I'd be looking for, and I'd be looking for a pretty major reversal there. So, that's how I'm viewing XRP right now. Now, you do have some patterns that could form on XRP as well. If you get above 96 cents here, this 2023 high, things can get very interesting very quickly. So, if let's say that XRP puts in a higher low here and eventually breaks this 2023 high, altcoins have their day, XRP starts moving. I've obviously taken some profits on this trade already, but I do have some of it left open for higher targets potentially if they're going to be hit. And if they were to be hit, I did go ahead and put in, I feel like I hid them somewhere. I've got so many XRP charts and other charts, it's not even funny. I think I built this one in the group for somebody. I think it's right here potentially. Yeah, this is probably the one. Sorry, guys. I know there's so many different templates that I work off of, which is
this is good. This is good stuff.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey,
why don't we jump in? Get that one set up. Why don't we jump into the factoid really quick, and we'll come back to this. How's that sound?
Go for it.
All right. Yeah. So the factoid of the day, guys, as you might guess, is brought to you by Decrypted.tax. Head on over to Decrypted.tax to get your tax pro solutions for the 2023 season. And when you tell them that the Investing Bros sent you, you get 25% off. From 2003 to 2008, Brad Garlinghouse served as a senior vice president at what American tech company? Was it A, Yahoo, B, NVIDIA, C, Ubisoft, or was it D, Snapchat? Don't everybody jump in at once.
I want to say... Man, I want to Google what some of these companies are.
But you can't.
I know. I also use it to guess go first. What do you if you could narrow it down, Mim, what are you thinking? What could you eliminate one or two of these?
I'm gonna say he was at Yahoo.
Yeah, that was one I was gonna eliminate. Yahoo. That just doesn't seem like it has anything close to do. I don't
Brad's
know.
an interesting guy. He's a Lawrence boy. He went to school like 15 miles from where I live.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Kansas?
I've seen him around town. Yeah.
I wanted to go with a more like obscure pick and say C, but I am seeing people say A in chat, and the fact that Mim says A, and I've now seen multiple A's, it makes me think it's got to be A. I don't know. A part of me want to say C, but I'm going to say A. I'm going to stick with Mim. He seems like a smarter guy than me that would know better. And since let's go Kansas. If he's from Kansas, then he's going to know him a lot better than I do.
It is Yahoo.
All right, safe pick.
Very,
pick. There we go.
Very nice, Tim.
There you go.
All right. From 2003 to 2008, he served as vice president of Yahoo, where he ran its homepage, Flickr, Yahoo Mail, and Yahoo Messenger divisions. And Tim and I, that's still our primary method of communication is Yahoo Messenger. So we're very, very appreciative.
Pigeon, actually. We still use pigeons on the weekends.
You guys got AOL emails, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hotmails.
My Yahoo Mail's getting blown up all the time. People trying to get into rap battles with me from my rap days.
Dangerous.
Rap battles.
Dangerous. Oh, man. Well, yeah, we can head back to the charts. This is, again, heavy charts today, guys. Hopefully you are enjoying it. I'm learning a whole lot. Hopefully you are as well. Did you figure out what you were looking at?
I found one of them. Yeah, I can just kind of roll with it. It's pretty easy to do, actually. And there we go. That's the one we're looking for.
Bang, bang. Right. There it is. Smash the like buttons.
It was on Bitstamp. I trade on the Bybit chart, but I charted it on Bitstamp because I had more data. So this was your reversal pattern. If you guys recall, this is actually what we presented on your channel. God, it was like, man, when was this? Like January? Yeah, June of 2022. Yeah, we presented that one like almost right when it happened. This is years ago. It's still out there. But this is a weekly time frame. And so for anyone that doesn't know me, I like harmonics a lot. We talked about that pretty extensively last time I was with T-Shroom here. But the thing about this one was everybody's, when's the settlement going to end? I really didn't care. What I was looking at was, when was the impulse going to happen? So what I've done is I've measured X to A here, like this length of time. And then I've projected it off of the C leg, which did occur very quickly. This is a very V-shaped ABC, but it did occur. And so I was looking for completion of D, which came in about 1 week after the 1-to-1. And then I'm looking for 100% time of that again out here. And that was actually your pump. So does that mean we called it? No, but we kind of knew that week was going to be interesting. And there you go. So it ended up being the settlement week, which was kind of neat. So where do you go from here? So this pattern is still valid. That's only hit one target. So depending on how you trade these, you can trade them based on fibs. You can say the 50% mark, or in most cases, what you want to do is you want to identify the B leg here. So you can see that this area of the chart is where price settled up, meaning that it was ranging here before expansion to the downside. So generally all I'll do is put a box there, right? We'll just put a little rectangle and we'll just say that from the B leg on over, this is my target. And you can see that this is going to pan out pretty well. There's my target, right? So we've back tested our prior, range low, so to speak, or support, which was also back tested here, a little bit here. So good area to keep an eye out on, right? The next target on this is technically the 886, which is like $1.77. And I believe if we go all the way back to the local high over here, you have something up there that would be of interest from May, I believe. And it's all about context and getting the move right. So we'll talk about what we need to see in the meantime. Yeah, you've got a nice naked point of control from May. I think it's like $1.50. Yeah, $1.57. Okay. Right. So we've got a nice NPOC up here, and we can mark that out as May, just so we have it. And we know that, these tend to get filled. They don't get left behind too much. So that would be in line with the idea of coming up to that secondary target. And then your third target would be the 113%. And that's if you trade this strictly on harmonics. So as long as you're holding on to this low, technically that pattern's still valid. And locally, we can then say, okay, 54 cents is important, 47 cents, we know that's important based on, like the monthly and 3-month chart now. This area of the chart realistically has to hold, right? I've got to have this as my support. So, we do need to work out where we're looking to be invalidated at, and that would be here. So this is our invalidation. If you wanted, you could turn it a different color. We'll go that one. So we know that that's support. This is technically resistance. If we clear resistance, we are targeting, $1.57 at a minimum, and probably a little bit higher into like the $1.70 range. So do we have a pattern that we can trade off of from there? You've got two of them actually. You have two possibilities. So again, this is where harmonics come into play. You've got a crab pattern, which is, right here, I've got it presented. I put the actual schematic on there. You can find it at harmonictrader.com. And I will be uploading kind of a series here soon in our Discord to go over each pattern individually and how you can kind of identify them, but also trade them. And then you got more of a common one, which is a Gartley. The Gartley is more of a range bound idea, because you can see that you don't actually take the lows or the highs in this instance. You just remain range bound. It actually kind of looks very similar to a symmetrical triangle at that point. It implies a further consolidation, which I think is not a good thing in this case for this one. So it would look like this, right? So you kind of see how that lines up here. And, this does allow for a little bit of breathing room, because you can actually take this up to the 886 if you get a 1618 expansion, which you do. So you can go from B to C right here. So you can see that's your B down to the C. You can see the little dots here, and your 1618, it's up here. And this would be an 886 from the overall high to the low here. So you want that confluence. So that $3 mark that everyone's talked about in the past is actually Fibonacci-wise very decent resistance, but the pattern itself does complete at the 786, which would come in around 263. So, we can't really look for these targets. Go ahead.
No new all-time high for XRP is what you're looking at.
In that scenario, no. And I think that's a very unfortunate scenario for those guys, because, it's going to create more bag holders more than likely. None of that really matters until you're above $1, basically. You've got to get back above $1. And you can see historically, like if we just took this, zone we marked out from a local chart, and that bat pattern, that was our reversal, that got us into thinking that maybe it's time to start looking for potential longs. It's a pretty good indicator here on the monthly time frame. You can see this is your all-time high candle. Where did you end up? Right here. Where did you back test before finding your lows? There. Where did you try to hold on to before coming back to the bottom side of the range? About right here. It's our current resistance. So you got to have about 95 cents. You start closing above 95 cents, things get very interesting. And the Gartley pattern is the very first one that I look to. Now I'm still going to go level to level. I'm still going to be looking at $1.57. I'm still going to look to, like $1.99, because there's a pretty big resistance there. But ultimately I'd start, my eyes shift up a little bit. And if things get really out of pocket, like let's say that it does make a new all-time high, you have this is a crab pattern, right? So this is implying new highs are made. And this is actually the same pattern that Bitcoin put in, similar anyway. It put in a deep crab where the B leg is an 886 rather than like a 382 here to the upside. Where did I put that one? Is it here? Yeah, there you go. It looks really, really crazy here because we're in linear scale, but in reality, this only goes to like $5, which to me is like, that's what I said. It's the out of pocket targets. Yeah. So that is if you break through $3. You get through $3, I don't see why you wouldn't make a bolt for that like $5 zone. And you want to see the 1618 expansion. So that's from X down to the low of the pattern here at A, which is your low at 11 cents. You got your 1618. That's what you're looking for, which you have here. And then you're looking for this B to C leg. You're looking for it to be a 2618 to a 3618. So you can mark out the 2618, the 300% mark, and then the 3618, and see if you have convergence there. That's what they refer to that as, and you certainly do. And then you would be looking at something like this. You'd say, do I have anything else? Oh, we're not in log. I think I drew that in log, like a log scale style pattern here where it's like a triangular breakout. Right around that, $2 mark, which is decent resistance. It's your last monthly closures here. So, and it's your ultimate high here. You've got higher lows. If we lose our support zone, what happens? This whole idea goes out the window, right? So as a trader, I'm not going to bag hold XRP at that point. I'm going to look for lower entries if I really want to trade this asset again. It's probably coming back down to here. Things don't really look good there. So want to see it getting above this blue box. Then I want to see 157. I want to see $2. I want to see $3, and then I want to see $5. And that's
then $589, right?
No, that'd be cool. It would be cool. I probably wouldn't make as much money as some people that bag that, but that would be the most. I won't use the term illogical. It'd be the least likely scenario. Let's just say it that way. $589 is the least likely scenario out of all of these. And right now, while we're living above this zone that we identified here between 47 and 54 cents, the most likely scenario for me is to range between there and 75 cents until we can attempt to break the 2023 high here at this key macro area. And then you can start looking for targets on a breakout. And I like to use Fibonacci to do that, use other things if it's available, like volume. In this case, to me, it's a very easy setup. You just have to clear $1 basically. And then you can start, putting boxes for here up on the chart, right? So the only thing I would say is time is an interesting one on this. So with Gartley's, timing is generally, it's pretty cut and dry on a Gartley. You're typically going to be looking at a Gartley in terms of time for either 100% time or sometimes you'll get 150%. So what I mean by that is if I measured XAB, like this length of time here, a lot of times it'll be perfectly symmetrical. And this puts your top in August, which is a very interesting time frame for me because we just talked about a left translated cycle for Bitcoin. So I'm starting to see altcoins with timing patterns that are lining up for tops that are coming in the summer. And I'm like, oh man, Bitcoin kind of putting in an interesting price action too. So if it does get a rejection there and you're seeing these altcoins explode in the summer, like XRP is making this move, I would be, I wouldn't say I'm looking at it as a top, but I would check that box and go, okay, that's one more thing to add, to my list of things that I'm looking at for potential market cycle tops, because they're very difficult to spot because everyone's very excited, including me. So, but things can definitely change if you get a different, I pulled a completely different style of it here where I actually just pulled the length of the impulses and then measured them. You've got, again, very similar timing at July here. So it is one of those things where you have to be careful with that. If you're going to get something like a really, really wild target here to like $5, timing on it's still pretty similar. You're just measuring here, but you can then take the measurement of the impulses. Like you just want to see X to A, and I want to project it off C and see where that comes in at. And you can see that the 1-to-1 for this is, again, August, which is a completely different pull, but it's got a similar target. So it's interesting for sure. That's how I'm trading XRP, though. Sorry for the winded rant, guys, but it's very simple if you want it to be. It really is.
Yeah, we're gonna have time for probably one more coin. Go in chat, everybody. Vote on the next one. It's looking like Solana's leading, but we only have 15 votes, so you guys got to get there. I have one question about XRP for Mim, but then after he answers that question, we're gonna take whatever has the most votes. Solana and Link will be the last coin he looks at today. But my last question for you, XRP. We asked you about Bitcoin. You told us probably somewhere in the range of 130. You said maybe a scenario towards 170 for Bitcoin is your top. We had a lot of different levels that you talk about XRP, but if you could give us an educated guess for your top pick on XRP, and I want you guys to comment yours in chat as well. What's your top for XRP this bull market before we get a significant cool off?
So for me, I think that since this chart is actually several years old in terms of range, if it gets a follow through breakout, I would be looking for it to try to put in a new all-time high. So I would start looking towards, about $5 is what I'd be looking for, because then your all-time high previously, depending on the chart, it's what, 331 here. So you're looking for anywhere from 331 to $5 at that point. That's if the breakout does occur, because this is a long time. This thing's been ranging up here since December 2017, and we're sitting here in April. So while the range trade is definitely there, if it gets rejected at the range high, that Gartley is very real. And then maybe it doesn't make an all-time high, but $3 is still nice. But if you break out of that, there's no reason why you wouldn't make a new all-time high. And people will be calling for $20, $100, $589.
The math just doesn't add up to those.
It doesn't, and sometimes markets don't have to add up, but at the same time, like if as investors and traders, like you kind of have to do what's best for you. So I'd always advise, if you're gonna leave some in for that, then your timeline just needs to be out. You just need to be okay, I'm invested in this for a certain amount of time, not necessarily price, because you can't really predict if something's going to get adoption and become like an asset like that. That's earth shattering. I just don't really think it's going to happen.
Good, cool stuff. Well, you heard it here. Mim's price target for XRP, $5 is the bullish case. Comment your top for XRP in the comments down below. And like I said, we only have 22 votes here, so we have over 180 people watching. Only 22 of you voted, but the 22 of you have spoken. The next and final coin is going to be Solana. Maybe we'll have Mim on again very, very soon, and we'll dive into Link and some other coins. But what is your thoughts about Solana, the coin that just refuses to quit no matter what happens? I mean, you can have bearish news, it can have outages, it can hit major resistance, it hesitates and then blasts through. I don't think we quite touched it, but here recently on Solana, I made a video the other day talking about the next move was popping up to 185. Well, we broke through that. We broke through that here today. While we are back down to 183 at this moment, we touched 189. Is Solana too good to believe, or is this legitimately going to be the number one coin in this bull market? What are your thoughts?
It's definitely probably the number one coin right now. I think when all-time high is a very, very appropriate question. We were just looking at this one. I gave a trade setup on it actually a week ago. No, it was the 6th of March. We were looking at a trade setup on it. It panned out perfectly. We were looking for a long. And realistically, the chart is extremely simple if you want it to be. And from these levels, it's like when you look at something like this, like on a monthly time frame or even a higher time frame, like it really doesn't make sense for it to not make an all-time high here. What is up here necessarily? You've got one resistance zone left realistically, and it's right here. You extend that over. Oh, you go style. There we go. The coordinates on that are 216 and 208, but it doesn't make sense to not come up here and take this high, at least swing fail it if it's going to do that, double top, whatever, the bearish case would be in that case. But if it's a blue sky breakout, I probably wouldn't short it. But yeah, this is a crazy one. Absolute insanity. I had a couple targets up here. I'll tell you where I get bearish on this one. I'll do that. Okay. So we were looking at it. I was looking for, actually, we called this out on your guys' channel. We were looking for this, if you recall. Didn't quite hit all the targets, but it did fill into the box here and hit the yearly pivot, and it did it so right on time.
Was good.
Yeah, the timeline was amazing. Yeah, it was perfect. So that was the cue for the long. So it was easy long there. Then it kind of gets a little bit trickier here. So again, you got to zoom out for this stuff. I'm going to get rid of this box. It's no longer necessary, and it's just going to clutter things up. So 3-month chart. Right. Again, you guys know how much I like the quarterly chart probably by now. You guys have to, not you guys, but your audience. If you guys don't zoom out, your chartist, you really should utilize things like the 3-month and the 6-month and the yearly chart. Even on assets like this that don't have a ton of history, it's enough to give you a pretty good understanding of maybe what's going to happen. So quarter 3/21 high, right here, the all-time high for that is when that took place. And all we're looking at here is the low of that quarter, much like the quarter 1 low and the other charts we were looking at. So that's a big level for me, because what happened once we closed below it, you did back test it and down you go. So knowing that, getting back into like the monthly chart, you can see there it is, very clean into what? The SFP level here. So you've got some clean levels. I believe there was a yearly pivot there. Sorry, I'm going to cruise on down and find that here in a second. Key levels, what was it? What year is this? 2022. Bingo, bango. There we go.
Nice.
All right. So you also had a yearly pivot there. So that's where that box does come from. So you have a yearly pivot from 2022, which is your exact high. It's also the back test of that quarterly low from the all-time high. I want to see that area holding as support. And that is what we got on this back test, right? So when you're going into that, it's a pretty important area. If you start breaking down from this little box here, things do start to look different. I'm going to get rid of this. We probably won't get into that's a different style of volume profile charting I do. So this is our low from that quarter. Obviously, we're on the monthly chart now. If you start breaking back below this, I'm really not all that bearish until you start losing this region of the chart here. And you can see why. Like below this level is pretty much the basement. But you've set up shop here yet again, right here around that $80 mark. So even if this thing pulls back all the way to $80, the chart itself really isn't that bad. Like this thing's been going so vertical that, realistically your next higher low to put in a market structure change is all the way down here still. You could completely retrace all the way to here and it would be perfectly acceptable as a higher low in terms of the immediate trend. And, that's kind of crazy to say, the immediate trend, right? For like upside in like the near future. It's not even, it's a 236 retracement. Like that's really not that bad. So you've got room to the downside, of course, but I I would do kind of what I've done is I just mark off my zones that are really important inflection points, that quarter one or quarter three low, the pivot here, so I'm willing to trade that zone as resistance. Now I'm getting back into like 158 and 179. Those levels themselves are decent. They're more intraday levels, as you can see. So these are levels I've had on the chart since 2021. They worked out all right. I can show you where I got them, actually. I know I said I wasn't going to, but otherwise they don't have any context. So one thing that I do, and this is something I'm working on a statistics for and a module on, but I like to track things based on time and market structure, of course. What I do is I go in and I dissect an entire year, top to bottom, or a quarter or a 6 month. And you can even do it on the daily for day trades, which is crazy. So, this is just the year right here. And you can see that it starts at a weird spot, but this is January 1st. That's the low. There's your all-time high and the high of that session or that year. And then there is your 50% mark. So all I'll do is take my fixed range tool and I'll pull it to the end of that year on the 31st. And make sure when I broke above and I no longer close below this. So that's all I'm doing is I'm looking for candles that are closing below. And then we finally had one right here where you can't see it now, but that's the first candle that closed above this level and it never closed back below. It actually regarded as support. And from there, you can actually just start pulling, where's my fixed range? I've got things here, right? From there, you're looking at it as, okay, now I've got a range that's entirely built up here. What can I do with that? Can I do anything with this information here? Yeah, we've got 158. Right here, I think was like a lower time frame, like a quarterly or a monthly, and that was the point of control from that area. So that's where 158 comes from. It's just dissecting the chart, kind of giving yourself a starting spot, and then going from there. I believe if you took this one in log as well, I prefer linear. There we go. If you take this one in linear, it gives you a better viewpoint of it. So same range that we just looked at is now completely visible in linear, and you can do the same thing. So you can work in log or linear, but generally you're going to toggle back and forth with assets that trade the way these do, especially when they go up hundreds of percent. Linear might not always be fitting, but in this case, linear gets it as well. So both in linear scale with the 50%, both in log scale, it gives me 158. And it's a nice perfect back test in a lot of cases. So now that's a key level. I would just trade these levels for what they are for right now. You lose 158, I'm looking for 143 and 135. Or 135. If I lose that level, well, I'll trade it to the next box, the next zone below that. And then, we've got major support down here that if you lose this and you're back inside this range, realistically, you're probably going to rotate all the way back down to it. But that's so far away, it's pointless, right? It's pointless to even consider. So I'm looking for an all-time high on this one. I really am until proven otherwise, until there's a sign of weakness in the chart. And there just hasn't been one. This one is one that I missed the bottom on. I whiffed on Solana. I was talking mad smack at $8. I was like, this thing is going basically to zero. I think I was looking for $4 or $2 at 8. So I knew it was coming down sub 20. When it was over 200, I was charting with CVO and leading crypto, and they asked me my target. And I said, yeah, it's like $20. And when it got down there, I was like, oh, why wouldn't it continue down to this target that I have here? The global point of control was like 279 or something. And it never, the target never came. So, there is no such thing as perfect in trading. But I did get into it here and there. I've traded it successfully since the run up, but I missed a lot of this stuff right here. Kind of, I sat and watched idly, and I was like, there's no way this thing's going to rip to like $100 or $179. And there's some people that were calling for it though. So hats off to them. They were all over it. They knew the hype machine was there. They knew what they had. The real question for you guys is, I know you guys are big on Solana, but like, do you guys get into like some of the ecosystem coins at all? Because like, from what I'm being told is that's where you want to be at, is like some of these like coins that are being built on there, and potentially, those ones that do the X's, I guess.
Like Pith and Jupe you're talking about in terms of like utility or meme? Yeah.
Both. I mean, it seems like meme is utility now. Being a meme coin is a utility anymore.
Yeah. Well, today's kind of it's kind of a Solana stands out day. You've got another kind of big ecosystem name here that's beating it. But you do have Solana here up 9.5%, the tent post coin, and then Jupe up 25.9 on the day. And then one of the only other green names here on the crypto bubbles is Pith, right? Pyth, however you want to call it. And those are all Solana coins. right? So it's, and then HNT also green, another Solana coin, utility coin. What you will notice is that there's a lot of meme coins that belong to the Solana ecosystem that are not up to date, but I think that has much more to do with the meme narrative kind of waning here. A lot of folks rotating out of memes to probably buy Bitcoin's dip, in my estimation, or some utility coin dips.
The people are speaking here on Solana. I mean,
Somebody's
think that
speaking.
this market, this is the institutional bull market. And I'm not saying that that means that Cardano is not going to do well, because I think Cardano is still going to do very, very well. But Solana, it's just fast. Like, people love the speed. And let's not pretend that Solana is like 100% centralized, but it's one of the more centralized coins. But the pros of being centralized is they can do things very fast, and it's easy to build on their ecosystem. That's a big complaint that a lot of people have about Cardano. Now, some people use it as a plus, that you have to be educated, you have to be smart, you have to know what you're doing to build on Cardano. But for the everyday person, they like the speed, they like the fees. You have speed on Ethereum, but to build everything and get it going, but then the fees are ridiculous. Solana, it goes very fast, it's easy to build on. It looks to be this bull market special layer one. I still have. I'm gonna get your high here in a second, man. But I'll tell you mine and see what people think. Like, I still have Solana going above $1,000. We're now talking about a 6-7x from here or so. I guess, not doing the math perfectly. We don't still have a 10x left in it, in my mind. I do think it's a coin that probably is more overbought right now than others, meaning it's a little overextended. Could have a decent pullback, bigger than other coins when pullbacks do happen. But I'm still bullish on this long term, and I think it will maintain. Is it a top 5 coin right now? I guess it's it's a top 5 coin, even including Tether. So I think it'll keep its top 5 ranking, but I think it's going to be one of the most special coins this bull market, getting up to $1,000. And yeah, those layer 2s and those memes and use case coins built on it, there's a reason they're being built on it, because it's the fastest and easiest to build on at the moment.
Tim, it's actually interesting that you say that, because I don't know if you saw this already, but there was an account that posted a picture on Twitter of Solana when you just said that compliment about it. I don't know if you've already seen this picture or not, but there it is. That's how Solana feels right now, that Tim's got the $1,000 price prediction. I love it.
I want to trade the Solana all-time high all of a sudden.
You want to trade the all-time high?
Yeah.
The revenge trade.
Not a revenge trade. It's just a trade.
Okay.
Just looking at this from a very simple, and simple sometimes is the best for trading ideas. So this isn't investing ideas, guys. This is not like, oh, if I short Solana up here because the setup plays out. It's only a trade. It's not like I'm going to short Solana back down to the lows. That's not a thing. You could try that, but it's probably not going to pan out very well, like most of the time. You might get one eventually, but so you got a clear trend now. So the Solana chart, and I would advise anyone to do this. When you go to a chart, go to log scale. And go to like a weekly or a monthly chart and just kind of look and see what it looks like. Got a nice higher low fashion here. So there is no real trend yet on the monthly, right? So you got to go down to the weekly and see what you've got going on. And the weekly is showing you what? That you're probably going to make a higher high. However, you've got trend-based resistance up here. And so what that means is, if you were to chart the low, the confirmed low that we have right here, and actually I can turn this on so you guys can see these. There you go. You've got your confirmed low, your confirmed all-time high, and now your new confirmed low here at $7, $8. Mm-hmm. Your gold pocket comes in here. You've got a really nice trend-based gold pocket at a monthly level of resistance with a monthly break or swing fail up there. To me, I mean, I'm not going to preset for that level, but I'm going to be eyeballing this area of the chart, that little box that we put up here earlier. Oh, that's not the right one. It would be here on the monthly chart. So what you'll notice is right here, you had a really, really easy trade that was available. You had this nice SFP that had started setting up in September, ran all the way through November when it topped, and continued to hold as a closing basis. So this would have been your first indication that once you took out the low here, that's how you're going to trade these. This is your low. You're going to want to get out of that coin, or at least look for further downside and look for places you'd like to buy in, right? So you've got your low of the all-time high. You've got your sweep of the highs here. This is, I call them SFP, so monthly time frame SFP. What you would want to do is, I'm going to mark this out so that way I have it on the chart. Actually, we don't need to, because it's an all-time high. It's pretty easy to spot. you can see that this is our low, right? And you can see that on a daily time frame, you've made the all-time high, you've come back in, you're respecting this level, very similar to $62,000 on Bitcoin, which is also a monthly SFP at that level. Respect, gives it up finally again here, tries to hold on to the low. And once you back test this low and give it up, I mean, it's pretty much, you're heading to the quarterly lows now because you've given up your monthly low. And once that was lost, you were heading down to here, which I had identified this from a quarterly range volume profile. There was a high volume node here, if I'm not mistaken. Once that was lost, you know, you're looking for me, I was looking for like $20, like down in this range. But yeah, getting back up here, those generally end up being decent resistance still. You know, it's like you've got some, if you're a trader, so if anyone here like actually trades, you know, everyone's got their own rules. Some people won't trade against the trend, which that's a very good rule. So you know, do keep that in mind. I'm not trying to twist your arm and make you take an opposing trade, but the setup is certainly there. So there's our monthly low. We're trying to get back in it now. Very nice. I would actually be curious about December's volume profile. I know I'm eating up a lot of your guys' time, so if you guys
you're good.
Yeah, we will have to jump somewhat soon.
Yeah, that's my bad.
No, you're good.
This is all good information. Yeah,
you've piqued my interest in this one up here.
Old Solana, piquing a lot of people's interest these days.
Yeah.
It's, man, as far as a trading coin goes, this thing's been phenomenal, right? Yeah, you've hit the NPOC there. And did you hit the next one? If I can get my mouse to work. And I know I'm eating your guys' entire show here.
Mim's
no, that's what this is for. This was the Mim Friday show. We're gonna have to have. Right. I think this is so good. We're gonna get you back on very, very soon. We'll get more coins. I think that we'll pick 3 coins for Mim shows here.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna walk us through what you're looking at, macro and micro.
I do go into like gross detail. I apologize. So your point of control is that low. So this low right here is very, very important. That low we identified just a second ago for that pattern. $180.93 gets cleared. You'll challenge into this box here at the 208 to 216, potentially even taking the all-time high. And so then this whole area for me starts to really line up with that gold pocket and trend right here. So I'm going to be looking at this as probably not, you're going to get a lot of people that are going to get resistance in this region, probably somewhere right here. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to have people building up short positions because I think it slows down potentially. But I do ultimately think you'll take the all-time high, stop all these guys out. And then if there is going to be a real short, that's where it's going to be at. Now, does that mean short it back down to the lows? No, I just think it's a good trade. Risk to reward on it's phenomenal. You know, you have a swing fail of the all-time high potentially. You know where exactly your stop loss is going to be. Man, that's a nice trade setup. It doesn't mean it'll play out. It could just blow through all this and, like you said, go to $1,000. But for me, you know, it starts to really kind of.
Yeah, I love it.
That would be juicy. And then all you would want to do if you were looking for targets is start, you know, pulling up like your quarterly target, monthly target, weekly target. These are future pivots, so they're projected out. You can just go to future pivot on TradingView and find it. But your pivots will be like something like this, and that's your mean reversion targets, right? So you can do weekly, monthly, whatever. Or if you're a moving average trader, I know you guys use moving averages, things like that. You could be like, okay, well, I'm looking for a pullback to the 21 on like the daily or the weekly or whatever time frame you're looking at. Just as long as you have an exit lined up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I'm looking to trade this actively now. Higher until there, and then I want to see the reaction of that level. Very, very big one. So
well, everybody go check out because you know you probably are listening to Magic Internet Money. You're thinking, I want more. Well, you can have it. Go and check out the links in the description. They're the first links for our guest here, Magic Internet Money. It's been a real pleasure. I've loved it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, man. We're going to get you on very soon. Again, we did have people that wanted links, so we got to get you on probably next week or two. Give us some link picks as well. Like T-Shrim said, go to my screen here, T-Shrim. Go follow him on Twitter. You'll see those links, but make sure you get the right guy. At Magic Internet M1. Make sure to follow his YouTube channel as well. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel, Magic Internet Money. He's bringing us the alpha. Really quick, I know T-Shrim, we got to go, but I wanted to just point this out because people were looking at it. Bitcoin dropping. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, guys, we got a falling lower highs getting set up while those oscillators are setting higher highs. It looks like that bearish divergence is in play. Still keep an eye on that 63. We'll go in more depth tomorrow on our Saturday show, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But with that said, we love each and every single one of you. Thank you to Magic Internet Money for being here. Thank you to you guys for watching. Smash the like, hit subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow. Adios.
Tryna make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shouted out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividends. Tryna make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.